Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 7th episode of The Inside with LPY Youth. Today, we are joined with our very own Mr. Hudgins from Albertville High School. He is the principal, and we are joined with all of the other high schoolers.
All of them.
Today, we're going to be interviewing Mr. Hudgins, asking him questions, and etc. Kaylee, you have a question to ask?
First one, no pressure.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna try to look at you as I talk, but also talking to the mic. We're in a series right now talking about how much our words matter and how big of an impact our words can make. And so something that's very noticeable about you is how you always seem to have happy interactions with somebody, always making them feel like they matter and how they're a big deal despite how many people you talk to every day. So what's your trick behind that?
Well, I think one of the few skills that I have is I'm able to remember a lot of names. And going back to my coaching days at Albertville, in the fall of 2015, I had the opportunity to coach for Dale Pruitt. He came to Albertville, and we started a playoff run for like 5 years there. But one of the things that he said in the very first meeting that really stuck out to me is, whenever you talk to your players, say their name. Don't say their number. Know your kids and know their name. And don't just know them. Don't just know their name, but know them. And know their parents. Know if they've got something that they're struggling with. Be the person that they can go to. So to me, that really just kind of stuck out. And in 2015 is when I was told that. And I really kind of grew that over the years. I mean, just sitting outside, I haven't seen those two guys that play at Boaz for 4 years now. I mean, when they were freshmen, but the last thing that we said to each other is, I love you. And I mean, I truly mean that. Those guys would tell you that I love them. They were just freshmen. They weren't even starting at that time, but I just think it's important to genuinely care about people and have an interest in maybe what makes them tick, but also, when you have an interest in them, if something's wrong. There's a lot of conversations I have in the hallway that maybe you don't see, where I'm walking through the hallway and I say, hey man, what's up? Or hey man, have a good day. And you can tell, because I have those interactions, if somebody's having a bad day, and I'll be like, hey, everything good? And at that point, I'm just opening the door for them to say whether they're not, or maybe I'm not the guy they want to talk to, and that's fine to me. But I just genuinely care and want to get to know. If I could know all 1,250 students' names, that's my goal by the end of the year, is to know everybody's name, and that's important to me. And then after I know their name, I can begin to know a little bit more about them. I talked with Miss Bilbrey over here, and she can tell you. I mean, it was important to me to know all those kids' names. So, but the reason I wanted to get back to high school is because you don't just have to know their name; you have to know them, and that's important to me.
Very good point. Does anybody else have a question before I ask a question?
Mm-mm. I have several questions.
As I get handed my pizza.
I have some story.
Okay, so I just have a simple, question. So what made you, I guess, just feel led to take the job at the high school?
Right, because you used to teach babies, you went from babies to less of babies to big kids. So, and I know you said that you have really wanted to be back at Albertville. Just what is it about Albertville High School that makes you want to be back so bad?
So really kind of two parts there, I guess, the high school and then being back at Albertville. So I'll kind of address the high school thing and then I'll come to that. Most of my experience is with high school. I taught 13 years before I got into administration, and of those 13 years, 12 of them were at high school. And so it's just what I'm used to. You can genuinely have a conversation with high schoolers. The opportunity presented itself to then come back to Albertville. I got out of coaching and got into Albertville, and of course, that was at AKPK. So my daughter went to school at Albertville even when I taught at Boaz. Albertville's home to me. And so I knew where I wanted my daughter to go to school. So to your point on why Albertville, my dad was born in an Air Force base in Europe. So my dad was very much he's an appreciator of all kinds of different cultural backgrounds. And so I think what makes us so strong at Albertville is truly our diversity. And when I was not in Albertville, I was living in Homewood, Alabama. Homewood, Alabama, as far as the suburbs of Birmingham, is one of the most culturally diverse areas. And there's a reason that I chose that too. I just want my kids to be in an environment where they're exposed to different cultures, different languages, different religions. So I think Albertville is a reflection of the world. When you get out on a grander scale, you go to California, you go to New York, you go to Washington, D.C., we look like everywhere else. And I want my kids to experience that. So then the world is their oyster. I mean, they can do whatever it is that they want to do. I don't want it to be they get outside of Albertville and it's like shell shock. Right. So to me, I believe in Albertville. It's a little bit of a cliche, but I do believe that there's an advantage here at Albertville in a lot of the things that we do. But our biggest advantage, in my opinion, is our diversity in what we bring to the table there.
Kaylee?
Okay. And so since you're such a important role model in our community, and whenever you're just maybe having an off day, it's hard to tell it. How do you still...
I'm glad it's hard to tell.
How do you still manage to, like I said, make
Have that
people...
pep in your
Yeah,
step.
have
Because, like,
positive interactions with people. How do you
So I'm gonna use
manage to do that?
a lot of my experiences come from in the classroom, being around different leaders, but also in my coaching background. I took a lot of pride in both. I think both those guys would tell you I was a fantastic teacher. I mean, and I say that, I know I'm being a little bit cocky, but I knew what I brought to the table as a teacher, and I hope that those guys would tell you I was a great coach too. So I have experiences from both. But to your point, Coach Jeremy Sullivan, who's at Boaz right now, he told me, he said, fake enthusiasm is still enthusiasm. And when you show up for your kids, you need to have enthusiasm. It doesn't matter if it's fake enthusiasm. You have enthusiasm for your kids. And so I think he would tell you sometimes he needed to be reminded of that too.
I'm pulling out my notes so I can be taking notes about
But that's, I mean, we're all going to have bad days. I think the worst thing that you can do, I think in my position anyways, but I think it could be said for anywhere, is when you're having a bad day, letting that day spill on to other people. It can be tough to put on a brave face, and I acknowledge that. But when I wake up, I live by a quote, and I said it in the FCA thing, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
no, but I'm sure I wrote it down.
It's Paul Bear Bryant's, and it was in my wallet.
What he said.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
hold on.
basically the theme of it. Do you know what I'm talking about, Clay? So basically, and I'm a huge Auburn fan, but basically the theme of the whole thing is every day that you wake up is a new day that God has graced you with.
Yes.
You can use it for good or for evil, and that's up to you. So every day that you wake up, you're blessed. And I know the dog may have used the restroom in his cage. Your favorite shirt may be dirty. My kids may be running late, and my daughter can't pick out her outfit. But at the end of the day, it is a beautiful, blessed day that you have. So you have to remember that, because somebody somewhere didn't wake up to that beautiful day. So,
That is a very good point.
but great question, because there are days that we all struggle.
I think, like, kind of just touching off of what Kaylee said, you're very good at just, like, making it seem like you're just having a fantastic day, even though, like, obviously, you know, being real, you're human too, and I'm sure you have your bad days. But that's something that I think we, like, mentioned either the last episode or the episode before that. I don't know. We talk about you a lot on this podcast. You should, everyone should go
They talk
watch
bad
them.
about me, Clay.
Everyone go back and watch those episodes, by the way. But
on water.
I don't know
He
about
said he
that.
might be able to walk on water.
but I don't know, but we mentioned how, like, you just impact every single student you talk to, no matter how you talk to them, no matter how many of the students that you talk to in one day, like it's just a way that you have with your words, you impact them no matter what kind of day you're having. And I feel like you're so real whenever like you're just like doing whatever, but then at the same time you're like so impacting and like you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's very refreshing to have an administrator who relates to us so much and is so like, I guess, just understanding of our situations and no matter what they may be. And like there's just, even if in the mornings when I walk by Mr. Hudgins, it's usually him and Croft standing there. It's usually him and Croft standing there having their cute little conversation, and then I walk by them.
Was the word. Yeah.
Right. And
I'll make sure to tell him that in the morning.
And I give them a peace sign, and then they give me a peace sign back.
Right,
and it's just like that simple of an interaction. Even if Mr. Hudgins is like on the phone in the morning, probably doing something important, but like on the phone, I give him a peace sign, he gives me a peace sign, and then it's just like an interaction in the morning that I'm just like, I have somebody who is here for me and who cares about me and who cares about the rest of the students here. And it's just really wonderful to see that in action.
We talk about that too. Mr. Croft we go way back. We've been best friends since like we were 5. Well, we've been close friends, but over the years we've kind of grown closer together. And but as we started the year, he was like, "Man, my favorite thing to do in this parking lot is just ride around and talk to kids."
Anytime you look out of the big windows of the classroom, all you will see is him Croft on the cart. Like that's all you will see. It's the best thing ever.
And he loves it. I mean, he's a little bit quieter than I am. We're kind of we're opposites in that regard. I'm never quiet. He very rarely speaks, but when he does speak, you listen. But his favorite part of his day is the morning, getting on that cart and just walking around and talking to people, even people that sometimes at the beginning of the year they didn't want to say anything to us, and we both know like if we can just get like a head nod, we're like, man, we're making progress. So it's small victories for us.
Does anybody else have any other questions to ask him?
I have this is a simple, just curiosity question. What did you teach?
So I taught history.
I knew it.
It
was either that or math. It was either that or math.
I started off as a math major at Auburn. And look, talking about going through struggles, I mean, I wanted to be a math teacher so bad. I loved math. I was fantastic at math. I scored very high on math. That's basically what got me into the schools that I got into, was because how good I was at math. But I failed a class 3 times at Auburn. And it was called differential equations. And I mean, whoa, it's brutal. So I got out of it and got into history. And I was made to teach history. I've taught every subject from 6th grade to 12th grade at this point. So every year I just got thrown a different class that I was teaching. But I loved it because I didn't teach. I never kept lesson plans when I taught, and neither did Mr. Croft. He taught history. We both kind of talked about this, but we would keep resources, but we would throw away our lesson plans because we want it to be something fresh for the new group of kids. So we may keep some of the same projects that we do, but how we approached it may have been different on like, hey, this didn't really go well last year, or maybe this did go well and we're going to do exactly the same. But if it went well, you were going to remember it. If it didn't go well, we need to scrap it and start over.
Also, like that reflects how you like are an administrator as well, because like you see what we've done at Albertville in the past, and you have made significant like changes and just adjustments to how we do stuff. And a lot of it is just like, it's made my high school experience like better, honestly. Yeah. Like, I'm graduating early because I can't stand high school, or I couldn't stand high school. But like, I'm not that I'm regretting it, but I'm just like, another year of this wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah.
Like now, that's actually, like having that, like, yes, American High School movie. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, I mean, and to that though, what you're saying, like, at the end of the day, like, we've got to remember this is high school. So there's going to be pros and there's going to be cons.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I want it to be an environment that I know classes for those 45 minutes are not going to be y'all's favorite thing. But there's got to be things that we're going to do that are going to be impactful and leave memories that you can at least go back to, and then interactions in a good environment. I mean, Clay and another youth pastor here locally are going to do something next week. Clay and I spoke a couple of times this week that we're going to do to kind of reward some people so that otherwise may not have gotten rewarded, and it's going to be for perfect attendance. But we just want to create those opportunities to have memories, whether it be the pep rallies. I mean, obviously, my wife tells me that you give me a microphone and 1,800 people, and I'm living my dream because I never quit talking, obviously. But just little things like that. If I can do something to make somebody have a memory of something they did at the pep rally or something that somebody did at the pep rally, man, I'm going to hype that thing up because I want y'all to have that memory, and I want y'all to have fun and then hopefully learn a little bit while you're there as well.
Yeah.
I just have to say, my first ever pep rally that I went to was the one at the beginning of the year, because my first 2 years of high school, I was homeschooled. And I was
Lainey
like,
had to have cheated on that.
okay,
Go ahead.
I was blown away. I was like, oh yeah, the principal's going to go out there and shoot a few baskets. And he's in the finals of this gotcha game. I was blown away. And so I was like, dang, pep rallies are legit. We were literally just talking about it earlier. Like, remember that time Mr. Hudgins was in that basketball game?
Almost beat the junior who is already committed to Mississippi State.
Yeah, shout out to Lady
You
Smallwood.
guys offered because she beat me. But I'm just saying. No, that's just kind of, I mean, I just want to have fun. I think there's a time, and I grew into this. I was not always this way, but I think there's a time that you can have fun, and then there's a time that you have to be serious. And, I mean, what better age being 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? Uh-oh, did I say something that
Yes,
kind of
Clay.
went
What we do in our messages, is Clay, he's like, okay, y'all reel it in. He's like, y'all know here at Lifepoint, we want y'all to have fun, but there's a time for fun and there's a time for focus. And that is like the motto.
And see, I think that's perfect because, you know, being with you guys in your age, I just think that this is the age where you start to realize that. And the quicker you realize that, there is a time to have fun and there's a time to be serious. I don't know, that maturity just grows a lot quicker. Yeah. And y'all, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't think I learned that till I was like 29. So the fact that y'all are getting that is part of why I want to be in the position that I'm in now. I want to help, hopefully help people to realize that before 29.
Yeah.
I was a very immature person, and I didn't grow up till well later in life. But yeah, I mean, if we can do that for you guys when you get out of high school and when you're 18, you're just going to be more successful, which at the end of the day is what our job is to set y'all up to be successful. So, and hopefully have a little fun along the way.
So I have a question for you.
Okay. Looks like it might be serious.
So, oh no, it's actually probably the most like unserious question ever that we've had so far.
What's your favorite kind of chip?
It's actually along the lines of that. What has been one of your like favorite moments with Albertville this year?
This year. So like up to this point, wow, that's a tough one. So I can ramble about almost anything, but trying to narrow it down to one thing. I think honestly, I have enjoyed the pep rallies. That's been to me one of the things that I will say the second pep rally. So the second pep rally, when I noticed the first pep rally something that I wanted to address the second pep rally. And so I just took a moment when the football players and the cheerleaders were going to their class. I just said, look, guys, I realize pep rallies aren't for everybody. Like, you don't have to stand up, but it just means a lot to me that you stand up for the alma mater. It's just, you know, a recognition of we're all from Albertville, and whether you love it or hate it right now, you're still from here. You're still going to school here. So just an appreciation to stand up. And at the end of the day, there was, I would say 98% of the people stood up to do that. And so just that little bit of progress that we made on, I can give you these 60 seconds in recognition of, I am from Albertville. Because we go back to everybody at Albertville is not, like, we have a lot of different cultural backgrounds. And the thing that ties us together is there's got to be a little bit of pride that we're from Albertville, that we're a part of this city that is going to have its issues, but what city doesn't? But at the end of the day, that's what makes us strong. And we need to recognize that, because the overwhelming majority of people in this city love one another. And every city is going to have its problems, but this city loves one another. And it's been that way for a long period of time. A guy that I admire and would love to be like is Paul Maccabee. And Paul Maccabee, I think, was the principal at the Albertville High School. It's the reason I want to be in the position that I'm in. I think he helped bring people together of different cultural backgrounds in a time where it was just starting. And so anytime there's turmoil, I just want to be somebody who helps steady the ship and keeps us going in a positive direction.
Right.
So. But I kind of went away from your question. Anyway, pep rallies.
Yeah, I think that's something that you're like really good at. Is like you like kind of put it. I mentioned this in one of the other episodes. I said how when you were speaking at FCA, you just kind of like put words in a way for like high schoolers for it to just like impact us more. And so I think like whenever you spoke about, those that didn't get up last time for those 60 seconds, that it's like important for us to, and like your speech that you gave before that, it's just like the way that you just like have with words to other students, it just like means so much more, because you can just like impact high schoolers with
I think it's like what y'all say, real recognizes real. I genuinely want that to be something that people will just care about for 60 seconds. And so I think when people feel that that's something that is truly meaningful to somebody else, most people will give you those 60 seconds or whatever. And when you're honest with people, even when it's bad, sometimes I have to be honest. I've learned that you have to be honest, and people can still get upset, but at the end of the day, sometimes they come back, and it may be 4 years later, but they recognize that you were honest with them at the time.
Right. Haley, any questions?
Does anybody else have a question?
So can I ask y'all something?
Yeah.
All right. So what's been your favorite moment this year?
My favorite moment, probably like just seeing the interactions you have with people, the interactions you have with me. I know I was very excited when I found out that you were going to be our principal, because I know how awesome you were as my mom's administrator and how much she admires you. And I expected the same thing.
No
and
pressure, right?
and I mean, you lived up to my expectations. Just the connections you make with us and the effort you make with us, because there's some teachers who just, not like some teachers, but just like there's a lot of people in the world who would just be an administrator and just do what was required of them, not take that extra step and connect with the students and make them feel loved and make them feel like they are appreciated for being there. And I know, I'm pretty sure we all feel like that. And if people don't feel like that, then they probably haven't had a conversation with you yet.
If so, they need to come talk to me.
Like Lena said, okay, so my sister, like, used to be my sister's principal and all that, you know Eddie, my parents and stuff, and then, like, knowing Kenny, and I was like, guys, Hudgins is going to be our principal. Who is he? Like, what? I don't know who he is. And then they were like, oh my gosh, she's literally awesome. And then I was like, every single day in the summer, whenever I would be with Kenny, she would be like, I'm just not ready to go to school. And then I'd be like, Hudgins is going to be our principal. She's like, you're so right. Yes. Oh my gosh. Like, that would just get her excited. And so then it just made me excited because, like, she gets excited for things, but not many things that she gets super excited for. And so that was one of the things that just, like, made her in a good mood instantly. And so I was like, listen, this man probably is good. Like, he probably is good. And so, like Lena said, like, you just met our expectations, and you have just done, like, tremendous, like, progress in the 3-4 months that we've been in school.
Correct. Like,
it's just like this man could walk on water, and I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it, not one bit.
Anybody else got anything that doesn't, like, any other good moments this year? Because I need to know this so that we can keep doing it, right? So,
I mean, I agree with you. Pep rallies are pretty fun.
okay, I'll
Yes.
take that. I'll take
Yes. pep rallies are
Anything
really
to get us
fun.
out of class. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But
I've
they
only
also
went to one pep
they are
rally so far.
that. Oh,
Because
which one?
it was
Best.
the neon. I don't,
Okay.
Arab. Arab. I think that was Arab.
I don't know.
Was it okay?
It was fun.
Okay.
It was fun. And
I'll take that.
last year I was not a big school goer. I was not a big pep rally goer. I was.
Callie
She went
probably
virtual
had more-
halfway through the
Yeah,
school
Callie
year.
went virtual and probably had more absences than the grades she had.
I
If
did.
that tells you anything.
And if this tells you anything, I have not been late to school one time this year.
Hey,
Can't relate.
that's because you get to walk by me and Mr. Croft
Exactly.
every day. Right?
Exactly.
And the thing is,
She's one of the ones we
I
got to
couldn't
warm up to
relate.
saying good morning to.
Right.
And I'm not a big conversator with people either. I go to school to go and then I go home. I'm not a big community person
Yeah.
or anything like that. So,
and you're here right now.
and I am, and I've made my second appearance on the
I
podcast.
love it. That sounds like anything. I didn't want to put you on the spot and make you answer or anything like that. But no, it's been a great year. It's been fun. There's a lot of good things. I'm going into a class, Miss Holcomb's class, tomorrow, 4th period, and reading like a little poem that I wrote. So yeah, I mean,
Do you have it? Do you want to read it on the
no,
podcast?
I'm not reading it on the podcast.
But podcast
comes out on Monday, so it won't be a review or
afterwards.
anything.
It's something she did. I was observing her class, and it was like a double standard. It's like I am this, but this. So it's a work in progress. I don't want to say that I'm done.
Okay,
because I
so-
just sent it to her to look at it and like grade me on it before. So I was like, break it down. Tell me what I messed up.
So like you'll have to come back when it's done.
Right.
Y'all
Next
can
week,
just hear
next
from him
week.
how it goes, right?
I guess. Wait, I just had like formed a sentence in my brain and then it just like left me. Oh my gosh.
Table swap. How much more time?
It
Yes, we're about to have to wind down for our table swap. Oh,
Do we have
For our
time
table
for like one more
yes,
question?
You got it, girl.
Okay, so kind of doing a circle back around to impactful words. You mentioned how one person gave you advice that kind of formed how you interact with people. But could you give us something that sticks out in your mind? Perhaps someone told you when you were younger that you would say, "Oh my gosh, that changed me," or something,
Or like just like change your perspective on like how you see things, or like just change your
I'll
perspective.
tell
on
you
life in
exactly
general.
when it changed for me. And I told you guys I didn't grow up till I was 29 years old, right? The moment I grew up was I was actually 30. So I'd said 29 because that's when I started to grow up. But I was 30 years old first time I had my first child. I didn't. I mean, my wife had our first child, Allie.
I had my
Yeah, but Allie was 3 months old, and so that was the moment that I just saw her and I was like, I got to be a better person, and so that was my big moment of growing up and being a better person. And so it wasn't necessarily what somebody said; it was just knowing that there was more in the tank that I could offer to people, that I wasn't giving my all to everybody. I did things to the best of my ability at the time, but there were things that I was selling short when I was coaching my players or when I was teaching my classes or even my interactions with my friends or with my wife or with my 3-month-old daughter. And so I knew that there was more that I could offer. And so I've really been trying to grow since that point forward. And I think since I was 30 to when I'm 30 to today, the present, I think I've grown in my development of who I am spiritually, emotionally, I don't know physically, but I've gotten much better of a person and in all aspects of a whole person development.
Right. No more questions for Hudgins. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap up the first table, and then we're going to go on a break, and then come back with our second table to interview Mr. Hudgins.
Thank y'all so
Thank
much for
you,
having me.
Mr.
I
Hudgins.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back with table 2. So we're going to start off, again, just asking questions to Hudgins. So, question for you. What is like... So I know that you said you like are like have like a spiritual life or whatever, you know. So like what does like your spiritual life mean to you? Like just in general, like what is something that's like yeah, like what is it
I think that's a pretty it's a pretty quick answer on it. It's one that I'm ever growing in and trying to get better and better with. But it's really a truly personal thing for me that I share with my family. Every night, me and my daughter, we pray. Allie. So we pray, and it's been so awesome to me to watch her growth over the years of, not understanding what we're doing, and I'm trying to explain that to her, to wanting to actually, get on our knees and pray, and to now, she leads the prayer, and her compassion in those moments, because there's moments she's not compassionate, but to see that compassion that she has in that moment. So it's something that we share amongst our family, and it's something that we have grown in my lifetime since Allie's birth, something that we've grown tremendously in as a family.
That's good. Even
Would you say that like you wished you shared more about your spiritual life, or do you like keeping it personal?
So actually, Coach Cotton asked me to speak at FCA, and it was one that I hesitated. I told him I was going to call him back because and I spoke on this at that FCA. Were you there? Mm-hmm. I spoke on this. I told him when he originally called, I said, I don't know that I'm the right guy. I don't know that I can represent what's best. And so then I went on to think about it that night, and I called him the next day. I was like, I'd love to speak. I'd love to have the opportunity. And immediately then I knew I was going to talk about something about not being perfect and making mistakes, and that's okay. And there's only been one perfect person, and so for me to sit there and say that, I'm not the perfect guy for this. Well, there's not a perfect guy there, but everybody can share their testimony of how they got to where they are. So for me, in my spiritual life, I thought that was a first big step to kind of what you're talking about, is taking that step to share some things out about myself that otherwise I hadn't yet. And so, I'm working on that side of it to share it with others. I'm a guy that usually doesn't go like too terribly in depth on stuff. So for me, that was a good first step to start trying to work towards sharing with more people. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is kind of easier for me because I work at a church-based daycare. So I'm encouraged to share my faith at work, So, but I was wondering, what difficulties are there, being principal but also having a strong faith? Do they ever fight against each other, and kind of some decisions, maybe this is just me, but some decisions it's spiritually you want to make this decision, but then your job requires you to make a different one, or how do you handle those conflicts?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, separation of church and state they're going with some really good questions here, but church and state is a real thing. So I have to be, I'll use last year as an example. There was a situation where someone wanted to come in and speak to the students during a time that was class time. And so I just had to be very aware of that and using the time before and after school so that they can do that. Just because you have to be careful of who you always open your doors to, because of the laws that go along with that. So, I can have personal beliefs, but at the end of the day, I have to make sure that the board hires me to follow the guidelines that they put in place. So I have to make sure that I follow those. Now, certainly I have principles that I stand on and ways that I believe things should be done. And but at the end of the day, I have to follow that policy and procedure, because that's what it covers me from any wrongdoing. So I follow that, but there have been some situations where I wish I could have done more. And that's the things that hurt you as a principal and as a leader, is when you know that there's something that you could do more that would be impactful to kids, but you don't want to move past the policies and procedures that we have. But I think that we have great things in place with our clubs that we have at Albertville, FCA, things like that. And then we have great involvement from our youth ministers and youth pastors, and for them coming in and helping our young people. So that's a pretty cool thing for me, seeing the involvement that Clay and some of the others around town have.
I have a question, and so you mentioned like first table how you were gonna go into Miss Holcomb's room and all that. So at the beginning of the year, you went into my second period. You went into Fox's room, and we were like talking about like some aliens or something. I don't even remember what we were speaking about.
I don't know where you're going with this. I don't remember exactly.
Like that. But then you started talking, and I know that that just meant a lot to the students because it just showed like how you cared and like that you really wanted to interact with us. But two, you mentioned how you carry around your little like notebook. And you have it? Yeah. And that is such a Clay thing. Oh my gosh, Clay has a little notebook too, don't you?
Clay, where's your little
Oh my
notebook?
gosh, that's insane.
I like it, Clay.
You should go get it.
Okay, and then and then you said how sometimes you write things that like maybe students say to you that stick with you, or like just anything that like, but something. Have you written anything in there that like a student has said this year?
As far as like motivational,
right? Or like just anything that's like stuck with you.
I will say I've written something down in the book. I've written some names down, and I won't obviously share the names.
Right.
But I've written some names down of some students that I wanted to check up on, and one of the best things about the book is I love when you write those names down, and you feel so great about where they are that you cross the name off. Ooh. Like to me, that is huge.
Maps all around.
So to me, that's huge. And what made me think about that when you said that is it actually happened like today. I had a student come up and on his phone showed me grades. And of course, I joked around with him. I was like, "Man, you that's photo edit." Like you to me, that really was like a big moment, like that. I felt like that student had taken some positive steps. Right. So that's I guess one little thing. I don't want to give all the secrets to the notebook, but no, that's one of the things out of it.
The book. Aben?
One thing, this is not a question. I just wanted to say, I really admire how you like to get to know the students. I like how you go around and get to know the students and make yourself known.
Well, I'll
okay.
Okay. One of the things that I'll say that from the moment that I came in, if y'all remember at the beginning of the year, the first Friday I did a video when y'all were in the homeroom for 35 minutes. So, and then I came around to your point when I was in Mr. Fox's room, and I've done a bad job over the last month, but I got in 5 classrooms yesterday, and I was the happiest I've been in a long time yesterday. So all that to say, one of my biggest goals was that every single person in that school knew who their principal was, because I want them to know that they can come to me. Now, certainly, if there's an issue in a classroom, I want them to talk to their teacher. I want them to, but if all else fails, I want them to know who they can come to. I mean, I am here to help students be successful and ultimately leave us to be successful people. So I want them to know who I am, and a lot of that is a lot of pressure, because when you go out into the community, you have to make sure that you're representing Albertville High School that way. But I wanted everybody to know who I was and that I am here for them. And so I've, especially the first month, the month of August, I was getting in classrooms. I was in the hallway talking to you guys, sent out a couple of videos to go over, but I just wanted to make it a point that everybody knows who I am, so that if you do have an issue, you can come to me. And even if you don't have an issue, just say what's up, because I want to have that relationship with you to where we can talk like that, So.
Alex.
Something along with what with what Aben said, she was talking about how like it's really like noticeable that you want to have a relationship with the students that you have, and not just like it's your job to be there. Like you actually enjoy to be there. And I feel like it's really important because a lot of the students think like, oh, when they call me to the principal's office, I'm in trouble. But a lot of the times it's not. It's just like they want to check up on you, you know?
So we're trying to flip that. Yeah. We're trying to flip that, oh man, I got called to the office. Ooh.
Yeah.
So, and that started last year at AIS with Alex with your grade. I wanted to make a point with the 5th and 6th grade now, but I want to flip the narrative of you're always in trouble if you come to the office. Mm-hmm. You guys may have noticed, I mean, I don't know how much you're on social media. Y'all may not care anything about us old people social media, but yeah. But we're trying to recognize as many students as we can for the awesome things that are going on. So we're doing more of that. Our counseling office is doing a fantastic job of that. Our peer helpers, our Aggie leadership. But we want to change the narrative of the only reason that you're getting called to the office is because you're in trouble. We won't call you to the office and give you a reward. We're doing something, and I mentioned this with the first table, but next Tuesday we're doing something that Clay's going to be helping us with. We're going to be calling 78 people that out of the 78, I would venture to say 50 of them have never been called to the office. And when they get called, the first thing that they're going to think is, am I in trouble? Mm-hmm. But then they're going to get there and they're going to get an awesome reward. And that's going to immediately kind of flip that script of, hey, good things happen up here at the office. It's not just all doom and gloom. We want to have these interactions with you, and we want you to know that this is going to be a safe place. And so I'm glad that that's a memory that you have from last year. But we're trying to do the same thing at the high school. We're going to handle our business up there too. So certainly there's going to be some negative, but there's going to be some positive too. And I think the office has a little bit of that environment too. So. There's a bunch, in my coaching experience, there's a bunch of different types of leadership, and there's lots of books on the different types of leadership, and everybody has their own way of doing things. Mine is a way of I want to get to know you, and I mean, Alex was with me for a full year. I mean, I think Alex can tell you that there's times that I flip the script too, and that I could be the scary guy. But I want to get to know you at a better level, so that when we have those tough conversations and when we have an opportunity, or not an opportunity, I should put it that way, when we have a moment that we need to grow from. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are young people. You're adults. You're young adults. You're still kind of growing up to learn how to be a full adult, I guess. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say that. But we're here to be guidance. So there's going to be moments that we want to have a conversation to get to know you, so that when we need to teach you something to make you a better individual moving forward, that conversation's a little bit easier. It's still going to be hard, because if we're having to have that conversation, something somewhere went wrong. But knowing that we're doing that ultimately to hopefully make you a better person. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of my leadership style. But I mean, like I said, there's all kinds of different ways of doing things.
Okay, so this is a little bit off topic, but if you had something that you could say like your younger self or like younger people in this generation, what would it be?
I mean, take chances. I think the world that y'all live in now, especially when I was growing up, I grew up in the technology like kind of boom. Like I had a cell phone when I was a freshman, and that was a big deal. And we were texting, but we didn't have the cell phones that you guys have now. So you live in a world where like you're always connected, and that leaves you open to always either positively or negatively be reinforced. And I think that is such a terrible thing.
Yeah.
That means that there's going to be peaks and valleys, and that's not a way to live. Nobody, it's called self-esteem because you yourself have control of that. And so when you take chances, people are always going to maybe make fun of that or be hesitant of that or criticize that is probably the best way of putting it, because maybe they've never seen it done that way. But it always took somebody doing it first. It always took somebody being the one to take a chance. And you know what? I guarantee you, Steve Jobs is no longer with us, but Steve Jobs would tell you he screwed up, 1,000 times. And dude was pretty successful. So, I mean, you have to take a chance. I mean, the guy left Apple and had all kinds of different issues, and I don't know the whole story. I should off the top of my head being a historian. But when you look at people that were successful, there's always a bunch of failures before that. So I would tell my young self, take chances, because when I was y'all's age, I was hesitant to take those chances. Take chances. And I mean, if somebody doesn't like it, or if somebody tries to give you a hard time about it, I mean, I'm not joking with you. I mean, because your friends are going to joke, but if somebody's continuously giving you a hard time about it, then that's not somebody that's going to move you forward anyways. Yeah. So that would be the one thing I would say.
Snaps all around.
Okay, so I'm kind of. Yeah. Okay, she's not good at Albertville, and this is like my other half, and so like I'll say something, and then like it won't even be funny, but she'll laugh at me anyway. So great. So anyway, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
And so about the office thing. Mm-hmm. So this is my first year being an office aide, and I was kind of scared at first because, as we know, like scary things go down the office, you know. And so my first day walking in, like I know like half the people that cut trough and all that, and I don't know the others. But like what I first realized was everybody's like super positive, like everybody's in a good mood, like this is a family. Mm-hmm. Like I walk in, I'm like, this is a family, like the whole office. Like I can.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. And I can go back to, like, his office and just, like, say hey. Yeah. Or, like, go to Miss Holly's and just say hey. And, like, I give thanks to you because you're the leader. And so, like, how you lead is how that group goes.
Well, I think Miss Holly may be the leader. Let me just go ahead and say that. In that office, anyway. But, no, it's a good bunch. I mean, we joke with each other. So, like, talking about, you're always going to joke with each other. But we joke with each other. I mean, it is like a big family, you know. And every time we have different kids that come in every period, and so we get to reuse some of our jokes, but we have a good time with you guys coming in, and I really enjoy the environment up there. As you know, I'm not up there very much. Right. I'm trying to get out and about, but when I come in, I'm like a flash in the pan.
Right. And it's when he's in the office, because like a blast of energy has just entered the room. We're like, oh, Mr. Hudgins is back. And then we have like a whole list of like, hey, someone needs you for this. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah. But my question was, hopefully you know the answer to this, because this is important to me. Right. What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, I mentioned it in table 1. So I used to carry it in my wallet, but I don't carry a wallet anymore. That's my way of not trying to spend money. But I used to have a wallet that a Paul Bear Bryant. I'm a huge Auburn fan, but it was a Paul Bear Bryant. But basically, it's a quote, and I said it at FCA. But today is a new day. You know, you have been blessed with. You can use it for good, or you can use it for evil. That's up to you, is essentially what the summary of it is. And I used to quote it, so I apologize that I can't quote it. But it's a fantastic way to live your life. And I mentioned it with table 1, but if you wake up, you're blessed. There's somebody somewhere that didn't wake up. So that's kind of how I keep my positive energy is, man, and I said to them, I may wake up and my daughter may take 30 minutes to pick out her outfit. She's in 2nd grade, y'all. So y'all pray for me.
But she is in fact a stylist. She's such a fashionista. Like
she wants to be a fashion designer. Yeah, she's on me to take her to Paris.
Serious.
Yeah. Yeah. She's on me.
That's dreams come true.
Oh my goodness, girl, don't even. But I mean, y'all are all
that's where the dreams come true.
Y'all are gonna start like trying to get her in my ear, but all the pressures that we have in the morning of trying to get ready, and regardless, you woke up. It's a good day, and I think Paul Bear Bryant was good about saying that, and you might as well do with that day as best you possibly can. So that I wish I could quote it word for word, but.
Going back to the leadership thing, I remember like the first conversation me and you ever had was at center court in front of the whole school, and we
was
in a pep rally, the first pep rally we had, and just going back to the leadership thing, like ever since that day, I don't think I've went a day without talking to you. It just goes
Well.
to show, like, you can be comfortable. Like, it's not all principals are the same, and like I'm not bashing any of the other principals we have, but you brought like a different energy to the school that like we really needed, and I think the whole staff, not just you, but like Coach West, Coach Croft, Miss Snyder, and the whole staff's just done a great job about like just bringing a new energy to the school. Like, people are excited to come to school now.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, we got to go to school today. It's like, no, your principals are there. Like going to class, switching class to class. Like, used to, like, we walk past each other, say what's up, like, every day.
And I'll be honest with you, we have fun as the principals. Y'all probably walk by us in the courtyard. Hey, yeah, don't we?
Oh my gosh! Today I saw y'all running around in that little.
I turned to one of my friends. I was like, "Do they actually do their job?" Because you and Coach Croft and someone else are just driving around the go kart. I was like, "Here they go."
We love it. And sitting in the courtyard, like talking to one another, like it's funny because Coach West coached me and Mr. Croft, and then Mr. Reeves coached us too, and then I know Coach Lambert way back from when I first started coaching. So for all of us to come together, and then Miss Snyder's, I mean, just bless her to put up with all of us. She is a saint. So to get all of us together, it's the same way for us. Like, we are excited to come like see y'all. And so that's not always the case everywhere that I've been, but honestly, like, I remember the conversation we had right at midcourt, but we enjoy coming to see you guys and talking to you guys too. We enjoy our jobs. So, I mean, Coach West came out of retirement just to come back to Albertville High School. If that tells you anything about how much he wants to be there.
Right. So going back to like leadership and stuff, and how, like, you know, a lot of the students recognize how good of a leader you are. What are like some characteristics that you think just go along with like being a leader?
Well, I think the one thing that we've all talked about that I'm a big fan of, because it comes natural to me. I think regardless of what you play to your strengths as a leader, but mine, I think, is communication. So I think everybody's style is different, like we talked about, and how someone leads is going to be based on their own personal strengths. But I've never been short of words. And so since I was 3 years old, my parents say that ever since I started talking, I haven't shut up.
Me too.
But I think that that's my strength, of just talking to people and enjoying those moments of just talking and getting to know people. So communication is a big thing to me, not just with the students, but what your expectations are to the teachers. They appreciate that, and I hope I do a good job with them as well.
Okay, my question is, so since you went from like 5th and 6th graders to high schoolers, what was the biggest differences that you noticed, and not just positive, also negative?
The biggest thing that I've noticed is just the depth of conversation that you can have. And that's the reason I wanted to be at high school, just to be honest with you. Most of my experiences with high school students, 12 out of my 13 years as a teacher was with high school, and I coached all 13 years at a varsity level with high school football and baseball. And the depth of conversation that you can have with students to truly kind of get to know who they are, but also get to know when something's wrong. And we talked about that with Table 1 too. When you get to know them, you get to know something's wrong, and you can have more of an immediate impact on, hey, having a good day? Yeah. And then you're walking by them when you say that, but you stop and you go, hey, but are you really? Like, is everything okay? And you don't want to do that in front of everybody, but if it's just me and you walking down the hall, then I'm going to open the door, and if you want to have that conversation, we can. So that's a huge positive thing for me, is that I can get to know the students as far as what kind of day they are, who they truly are. As far as a negative on making the jump from 5th to 6th to high school, I would say, you know, you're going to deal with, the bigger the kids get, the bigger the problems get. But that was something I was fully prepared for. Again, I spent most of my time there, but as an administrator, that's been the biggest thing. But that was why I wanted to make sure that Coach Croft was still on my administrative team, because he has a ton of experience. He's a guy I trust with anything. I've known him since I was like 5 years old. And then Coach West, who has 14 years experience as an administrator dealing with some of the disciplines too. So I knew I would be able to have the interactions with the students, but I needed that team to work on my weakness. And I think that that's a huge part of leadership. Going back to your question, is playing on your strengths and finding people that can help upgrade your weaknesses. Right. And so as far as dealing with the bump from fifth and sixth grade to high school, it wasn't really anything I knew it was coming, but the problems get bigger. Right. So
last question, May.
Here you go.
Well, I have a statement and a question. My statement is just stay there for the next 4 years. Please. And then my question is, like, how do you find a good way to impact someone's day even when you're not having a good one?
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that, golly, that is a good question. I haven't been stumped this whole time. You're going to do it on live.
Last question.
I think even when you're having a bad day, finding a way to be positive. When you're having a bad day, be a good listener. Maybe that's a good way of putting it. When you're having a bad day, be a good listener. Because if somebody's taking the time to talk to you because they're having a bad day, they may not want your opinion. Don't be there to be the fixer. And I have to work on this with my wife all the time because I'm in leadership. I want to fix. Like, I want to fix things. And so I have to be a better listener. And there's times I have bad days. And I would say when you're having a bad day, step away, be a good listener, be a good friend, good colleague, whatever it may be.
Okay, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Hudgins, for joining us and allowing us to interview you. Lastly, first, everyone dab and say our thing. 3, 2, 1. Love you. There's nothing you can do about it.